We back at it right here on Ultimate Browns. Let's get right off into it. And let's first start by saying the 24/7 line is open. If you want to give your opinion about the Cleveland Browns and your draft picks and what we got going, it is your opportunity to do so. 216-345-4433. Once again, 216-345-4433. 30 seconds. Let me know your name, where you're calling from, and get your opinions heard right here on the Ultimate Browns. Without further ado, let's get right into this thing. You know what it is. Let's talk about Mike Hall Jr. Mike Hall Jr., yes, the Cleveland Browns go select Mike Hall Jr. at pick number 54, round number 2, out of Ohio State. 6'2", 280 pounds, 20 years old, has that length, that linear body that can get up and mess with tackles, and to be able to get a pass rush up the middle at defensive tackle. And that's what the Cleveland Browns, and I'm going to tell you the second why I think they really went after Mike Hall Jr. But don't listen to me. Listen to what the Cleveland Browns had to say about it, led by Catherine Race here, talking about what Mike Hall Jr. brings to the Cleveland Browns defense.
I think when you look at how we play the position and how we ask our guys to get off the ball and how athletic they need to be and how quick they need to be, that's what Michael is going to bring to the table. I mean, Jim got on the phone with him, gave him a quiz, and he was ready to roll, and he's about to be the engine of this defense. And I'm not going to use the words that they use, but let's just say mess things up in the in the front there. So I think that's what he's going to bring to the table.
And it's exactly what they're looking for Mike Hall to bring to the table. When you take a look at Mike Hall Jr., here's a guy that is a little undersized for defensive tackles, about 6'3", about 290 pounds, third team All Big Ten in 2023. He has an active motor, quick twitch mover, functional strength, good reactive hands. He's a fighter. He's a puncher. He's going to get to to attack the offensive guard or the center, whoever he's battling, quicker than they're going to be able to get to him. I think he's going to give you that traditional look and that traditional feel of a Aaron Donald type tweener. Right. And before it was looked at as a bad thing to be a tweener or to be an undersized defensive tackle. But what Aaron Donald has been able to show everybody is that when you have quickness, speed, and agility and quickness off the ball, you can generate a lot of mismatches inside between defensive tackles and the guards. Some of the concerns they have a little bit when you are a little undersized is taking on double teams. You have that undersized frame, and there's a little bit of an injury knack on Hall Jr. And sometimes being undersized can lead to injuries if you're playing in a system where you're being asked to take up double teams. He won't be asked to do that. You have Dalvin Tomlinson to do that. When you take a look at his film, one thing that pops out is the stance, start, get off. As a former defensive lineman, that is the pillar. That is what you want to see. Stance, start, get off. All of those things are going to help you get the punch, get the step and a half that you need on guards to get to an edge and work your move. Yes, fluid and agile lower body to bend and dip around linebackers and offensive line, can stretch cross blockers, face quickness, so he can give you the up and under. He can give you the rip move. And one thing that you want to see is you want a guy that wants to be a quick twitch guy. Hall Jr. is that guy. He's able to use blockers' aggressiveness against them. He's able to bend you one way, come back the other way with athleticism, and it allows him to really work good laterally against outside or inside zone run concepts. So when you take a look what he does best, he's going to be a guy that I project when you look at the Cleveland Browns. I think that what they're trying to do, and Jim Schwartz is doing something a little bit different. He got a little bit different game, a little swag coming for you this year. Last year, go back and watch that Texas games. JOK was the most dominant player on the field. I've said that before. And when you have a guy like Myles Garrett, when you have an edge rusher, there are things you can do to mitigate the damage that an edge rusher can do. Myles Garrett is always getting hit by the tackle. He's going to get the best tackle. He's going to get the tight end over there. They're going to slide the protection over there. They're going to chip with the running back. At the end of the year, when you look at Myles Garrett's production, it's not because he's falling off or his motor isn't running high. It's because he's getting touched every single play. He's getting touched. He's getting hands put on him, and it slows him down. There's one thing that you can't do. When you get in a rush in the A gaps and the B gaps, when you talk about getting a rush up the middle, there is nowhere to go, nowhere to run. Quarterback steps up for Myles Garrett, getting around, running the hoops. Guess what? He runs right into a hole. You know, when you got a guy who can rush in the A gaps and the B gaps, now you can't run away from Myles Garrett. You can't escape outside of him because he's going to do a great job in containing and getting to the quarterback. So now what you got to do is now you got a guy in the middle that's able to pressure you. When you got guys like that, like the Warren Sapps of the world, like the Aaron Donalds of the world, there's nothing more devastating in terms of a pass rush than up the middle. I think what we want to move towards is you got guys like Dalvin Tomlinson. Mo Hurst can give you that pass rush, right? But the problem is Mo Hurst has been injured. Shelby Harris is getting up there. He's been injury prone a little bit. Siaki Ika is more of a nose tackle. He's more of a guy that's going to stop up gaps in the way that Dalvin Tomlinson does it. But when you got a Mike Hall Jr., a guy that is almost as quick as a defensive end, and you're able to put him in the middle and rush. You also got to remember Zadarius Smith is better as a pass rusher over and running in the middle over 3 techniques as well. You're adding to your pass rush up the middle, and now you can bring in the second wave of JOKs off the edge, bringing Grant Delpit out of the secondary. So to me, this is just the second wave, the second look, and the evolutionary step of what Jim Schwartz wants to do, not just rushing from the outsides with guys in your rush-ins, but getting that rush up the middle. And I think that's the next step in which they want to get to with the Cleveland Browns. I think they'll be moving them around and trust and believe. I've heard people talk about this before we get to our first time out here. I've heard people talking about this, and I think this is false. People saying, oh, these are depth picks, these are depth guys, these are guys that aren't going to play. Listen, in the National Football League, just go back and look at what happened last year. We had Mo Hurst, who had a great season, out for the year. Obo Okoronkwo, guess what? He was out for a long period of time with the pec injury. You take a look at Zadarius Smith was nicked up and banged up. Myles Garrett was nicked up and banged up. When you play in the defensive line, I should know, there ain't no such thing as healthy. You was healthy when you was born. You were born healthy. Other than that, you ain't healthy. You're going to have guys that come in and give you that same level of energy, effort, and be able to have that skill set. So people saying Mike Hall Jr. is a 2 to 3 year down. Listen, that don't happen no more, boys and girls. Ain't no 2 to 3 year plan. It's all about the fierce urgency of the day. And when you talk about defensive line, you always need a bunch of them. We need to stop looking at whether or not we're going to get rid of somebody or whether these guys are going to make the team. This guy, we pick him in the second round. He's going to start playing on pass rush downs because that's going to be his specialty. But don't be surprised if they see him rotating in there throughout the remainder of the regular season and somewhere down the line. With that being said, let's get to our first break of the day. Guess what? We got 4 or 5 other guys to talk about, and then there's another guy from Michigan coming up who I think he might be the future on the offensive line. We'll come back and give you that. It is G. Bush here on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show Network. You're listening to the Ultimate Browns.